It's Good Friday, 1995, in the heart of Atlanta. In kitchens where the air is thick with smoke and the scent of fried food, one woman's life of servitude is about to ignite into legend. What would you do if the injustice around you demanded a reckoning? Good Friday, 1995, and the streets of Atlanta hum with the quiet reverence of a city caught between tradition and the whispers of a changing world. Sunlight spills across brick sidewalks, warm but heavy, catching the dust that dances lazily in the air. Inside the stately old house where Mary works, the kitchen is alive with the hiss of grease and the clatter of pots, the pungent aroma of frying chicken and spiced pies weaving through the cramped, oppressive space. Mary moves with practiced efficiency, the weight of her daily toil pressing against her shoulders like the unyielding heat of the afternoon Sunday. Her hands are calloused, her back stiff, her eyes flickering constantly toward the dining room where the masters laugh, their polished shoes tapping against the marble floors, their voices lilting in careless superiority. She has been here for years, a cook in a house that does not see her, a presence that blends with the shadows, expected to endure, to serve, to vanish behind the steam and the smoke. The master sits at the head of the table, his brothers flanking him like statues carved of privilege. They wear the air of entitlement as effortlessly as their starched shirts, their laughter spilling into corners of the house where Mary cannot escape. Each of them carries a cruelty different from the other, one sharp-tongued, striking with words that cut deeper than any physical blow, another indulgent in small humiliations, leaving tools slightly out of reach, spilling sugar or salt, forcing Mary to apologize for mistakes not her own. The youngest, reckless and violent, snapping his fingers at her like she were an object, a toy, a thing whose existence is only validated by its usefulness to them. And yet, Mary endures. She endures the smoldering glare when she dares to make a choice, the whispered threats that curl around her like smoke, the endless march of meals to prepare, of rooms to scrub, of errands to complete before the sun dips low and the city exhales in shadow. Every corner of the house is a reminder of her place, a constant juxtaposition between their comfort and her suffering. The cold sheen of the marble counters mocks the sweat that glistens on her skin. The delicate crystal glasses tremble in their hands, yet she carries trays heavy with food, as though the weight were nothing. Her world is constrained by ceilings too low, kitchens too hot, expectations too high, and a fear that has grown as familiar as the rhythm of chopping and stirring. A fear that whispers each evening that the world outside these walls is no sanctuary. And yet, in the rare quiet moments, when the clatter dies and her breathing is her own, she glimpses something deeper within herself, a spark, dulled but not extinguished, a whisper of what might happen if injustice ever met its reckoning. It begins with a moment small enough to seem accidental, yet sharp enough to pierce her endurance like a needle through cloth. A careless insult, a spilled dish, a sneer from the youngest brother, and Mary feels a heat rise behind her ribs, not the heat of the kitchen, but a slow, building fury that refuses to be contained. In the reflection of the polished silver, she sees herself as others never do, not the faceless cook, not the background hum of labor, but a woman aware, a woman who remembers every slight, every bruise, every whispered humiliation. Her mind begins to map the cruelties with precise care. The eldest brother, who enjoys her exhaustion as a private joke. The middle, who seems incapable of kindness even in fleeting moments. The youngest, whose violence is playful only in his mind, leaving bruises and trembling hands in his wake. Each one etched into her memory like lines on a map, each one a target for justice she begins to imagine with frightening clarity. The air in the kitchen feels different now, thick with tension, simmering with potential energy. Mary moves between the stoves and counters, with the precision of a seasoned soldier, her thoughts rehearsing sequences, testing possibilities. The church bells in the distance, ringing for Good Friday services, echo in her ears, a rhythm that syncs with her heartbeat. Shadows stretch across the walls, foreshadowing the darkness she intends to bring. And every scent, burning oil, sweet dough, polished wood, seems sharper, almost accusatory. as if the house itself anticipates the reckoning. She walks past the dining room, past the polished floors and the sparkling glassware, imagining the scene to come, the confrontation, each act measured, each moment purposeful, each blow a statement, a correction of wrongs long endured. Her transformation is not sudden, but methodical, psychological as much as physical. She recalls every insult, every snide remark, every flicker of superiority that has tried to convince her of her place. With each memory, a quiet resolve strengthens in her chest, a cold, precise fire. She rehearses movements in her mind, studies shadows, tests the weight of a rolling pin, the swing of a heavy ladle, imagining them not as tools but as instruments of reckoning. Even in the midst of preparation, life continues. Master's laughing, the youngest brother tossing scraps to the dog, unaware of the storm gathering just out of reach. But Mary feels the shift in herself. A gravity pulling toward a moment that will redefine the boundaries of power and vengeance. The city outside continues to hum with the routines of everyday life, oblivious to the silent calculations being made within these walls, as Mary steels herself for the day that will change everything. The morning is thick with anticipation, the house heavy with the weight of the day's ritual, ordinary in its sunlight, yet extraordinary in its quiet portent. Mary moves with deliberate slowness, her fingers brushing over the polished counters, testing the balance of the morning star she has hidden behind the pantry door. Each swing in her imagination is precise, each calculated motion a silent promise. The air is dense, fragrant with cooking spices and the faint metallic tang of anticipation, and every creak of the floorboards echoes like a drumbeat in her mind. She paces, rehearses, tightens the grip on the weapon, and in her chest, a calm determination has replaced the simmering fire that has haunted her for weeks. This is not chaos. This is justice. The first encounter is with the eldest brother, seated lazily at the table, smug in his assumption that the world bends for him. Mary approaches, silent as a shadow, her mind rehearsing every detail, every possible reaction. The swing is swift, precise, a punctuation of all the years of insult, of belittlement, of labor ignored and humanity denied. He falters, stunned, disbelief etching across his features, and for a heartbeat, the room seems to still, holding its breath. The second, middle brother, confronts her with sharp words and cutting laughter, but Mary is already a step ahead, her movements methodical, unhesitating, each act of force a deliberate reckoning. The third, youngest and reckless, lunges with arrogance and cruelty, expecting fear, expecting submission, but Mary meets him with calm, unflinching precision, a silent statement that the power has shifted. Each action is measured, each strike a narrative of correction, not vengeance for the sake of blood, but justice for the wrongs meticulously catalogued over years. The kitchen, once a domain of oppression, is now a theater of moral balance restored. Every sound amplified the scrape of metal against tile, the echo of footsteps, the stifled gasp of recognition. Mary's breaths are even, her heartbeat steady, her mind clear, each moment a testament to endurance transformed into agency. She does not revel in fear or pain. She acts as one guided by inevitability, by a deep-seated understanding of what it means to be forced into silence and finally to speak through action. Time itself seems to bend around her calm, purposeful fury, the sun outside spilling light across a house that has forgotten the consequences of arrogance, now forced to reckon with them in visceral, undeniable form. When the violence subsides, the house is quiet in a way that feels almost sacred. The heavy scent of smoke and sweat mingling with the sharp metallic aroma that lingers in the air. Mary stands amidst the aftermath, her chest rising and falling with controlled breaths, her eyes scanning the room that had been a prison and is now a testament to her agency. There is no celebration, only the sober acknowledgement of what has been done, the weight of consequence settling like dust on the polished counters. Her silence is heavy, reflective, a meditation on justice achieved and lives forever changed. The world outside the house begins to notice. News travels through the streets of Atlanta, whispers growing into shouts, rumors painted in the stark light of horror and awe. Mary is apprehended, brought before a court that struggles to comprehend the act that was at once monstrous and righteous, a moral calculus that defies simple judgment. In the courtroom, she is measured, examined, catalogued by the very society she has resisted, yet even in chains, her calm remains, the spark of resolve unbroken, a testament to a woman who refused to be invisible. Public fascination grows. Some fear her, some admire her, and many are forced to reconsider the brittle structures of power that allowed such oppression to fester for so long. Mary's story becomes legend, whispered on street corners, printed in newspapers, painted into the collective memory of a city wrestling with its own conscience. She inspires fear and respect in equal measure, a cautionary tale and a symbol of resistance. The name Mary of Atlanta spreads beyond her neighborhood, her image an African-American woman holding a morning star, calm, unflinching, etched into the imagination of those who hear her story. Her actions, while violent, are never gratuitous. They are remembered as precise, intentional, righteous, and transformative. And yet, the question lingers long after her capture, long after the public has moved on to the next sensation. What would you have done if the world demanded justice and refused to wait for your patience? The story of Mary endures not as a simple tale of vengeance, but as a living, breathing reminder that endurance and oppression can, in the hands of the right spirit, transform into unyielding, unforgettable power. She becomes legend, a symbol of both fear and inspiration, the shadow of her story lingering in kitchens, streets, and hearts for generations.